what I'm going to show are some of the quotes that I used in my classes. One of them is somewhat poetic, and it will serve as the last piece that we will have this afternoon. So I've pulled some slides together from a number of my courses. I can only pull a few, but I think they are somewhat representative of Eiseley's thought process, and why a good friend of mine has called him a modern shaman for our times. And so, of course, this quote is well known in a number of aquariums, and in my own hometown, New York City, that's the first thing you see when you walk into the Museum of Natural History from the 81st Street station. And so I usually begin and end my little chautauquas with my classes with an Eiseley quote. And so this particular quote is for my discussion of how, in my sustainability course, on how the oceans and the plastics pollution and the other things that deep ocean mining. And before I give that talk, there's the Eiseley quote. I also teach a course on solar energy, and this quote is taken from the Invisible Pyramid. Basically, man's planetary virulence can be ascribed to just one thing: a rapid ascent, particularly in the last 3 centuries, of an energy ladder so great that the line on the chart representing it would be almost vertical. What we in electrical engineering refer to as an impulse function. And then, of course, I show a surface mine. This I also use in the renewables and sustainability course, and it comes towards the end of the semester. Collective man, at the climactic moment of his journey into space, has met himself at the doorway of the stars, and the looming shadow before him has pointed backwards into the entangled gloom of a forest, which has been his purpose to escape. Man has crossed in his history 2 worlds. He must now enter another and forgotten one, but with the knowledge gained on the pathway to the moon. He must learn that whatever his powers as a magician, he lies under the spell of a greater and a green enchantment which, try as he will, he can never avoid, however far he travels. The spell has been laid on him since the beginning of time, the spell of the natural world from which he sprang. This is from the same course. Creatures who evolved as man has done sometimes bear the scar tissue of their evolutionary travels in their bodies. The human cortex, the center of high thought, has come to dominate, but not completely to suppress, the more ancient portions of the animal brain. We know that within our heads, there still lurks an irrational, restive ghost that can whisper disastrous messages into the ear of reason. Today's man's mounting numbers and his technological power to pollute his environment reveal a single demanding necessity, the necessity for him consciously to re-enter and preserve for his own safety the old first world from which he originally emerged. His second world, drawn from his own brain, has brought him far, but it cannot take him out of nature, nor can he live by escaping his second world alone. He must make, by way of his cultural world, an actual conscious re-entry into the sunflower forest he had thought mainly to exploit or abandon. He must do this in order to survive. Man must be his last magician. He must still seek his own way home. So this is the last section of the Invisible Pyramid, which Eiseley entitles The Last Magician. And then and then you see I have Mickey Mouse there from The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and the Sunflower Forest. This is somewhat poetic. When I teach this course on sustainability, I challenge my students into thinking that it is your generation that must decide what our fate is going to be. The previous generations are just slowly coming to grasp of the enormity of the challenges facing us as a civilization and as a species. And this is something, and if you do not act, when I share this with the class, if you do not act, let me share this last piece from Eiseley. And it comes from his essay, The World Eaters, which is also from the Invisible Pyramid. Beginning on some winter night, the snow will fall steadily for 1,000 years, and hush in it falling the spore cities whose seed has flown. The delicate traceries of the frost will slowly dim the glass in the observatories, and all will be as it had been before the virus wakened. The long trail of Halley's comet, once more returning, will pass like a ghostly match flame over the unwatched grave of the cities. This has always been their end, whether in the snow or in the sand. The Invisible Pyramid begins with a quote that he takes from John Neihardt. Once in a cycle, the comet doubles its lonesome track, enriched with the tears of 1,000 years. Aeschylus wanders back. And so I did want to end with a poem, not by Eiseley, but by one that he chose, a colleague who was the Nebraska Poet Laureate, John Neihardt. I think with that, I'll stop the share. And I want, number one, to thank each one of the readers for coming and sharing their insights and the poems and sharing with us. I am inspired by meeting each of you this afternoon. I look forward to seeing you all again at a future Eiseley Public Forum. The promise I made to Ray Bradbury when he reminded me to bring Eiseley back. His time has returned, Ben, and I want you to carry this torch forward. And so I think in each of us, we try to keep his, not only his memory alive, but to carry his message forward. So for those of you that are interested, we do have copies of the Loren Eiseley Reader that is now in every public library in Nebraska and every public school in the state. We would like to expand this beyond the state of Nebraska. Members of our society have undertaken to begin a teacher's guide. Part of the changed mission of the Loren Eiseley Society, which was once Friends of Loren Eiseley, is to really reach out to this next generation, because as one of my friends indicated, she felt that Loren Eiseley really was a modern shaman, and that his message really needs to be spoken loud and clearly to this next generation of young people, and that he can do it in a way which is not hectoring, but is guiding. And so I always take my copy of the Invisible Pyramid up with me to every mountain I climb in Colorado, even though it weighs a ton on a small backpack, to pick a section to read when I get to the top, and to say, I made it up here, Loren, and you're part of that inspiration that drove me here.